Hello, hello. Welcome back. Here's the tank today. Just stunning. Like, dialed in, baby. I added a little bit more greenery. I just took the rest of the silk plants from the Oscars because they're just thrashing them around and ripping them up and even hurting themselves. Big girl had a gash on her from one of the plants that she broke. It made a sharp edge, and then it gashed her. So minimal, low, just all low-lying plants in the Oscar tank now. I'm not putting anything tall up that they can snag themselves on. We brought all those up here into the Discus tank because silk plants are a little more expensive, and I don't want to waste them. So, pretty things up here. I needed some green up here. I'm not having good luck with live plants, so I might as well put realistic fake plants in there and mix them with the few live plants I have, and hopefully I get a nice look at the end of the day. So, but I guess today's subject will be like minimalist discus keeping. What I mean by that is doing it on the cheap, the modern minimalist, so to speak. And traditionally, keeping these fish was like a $5,000 to $10,000 endeavor. You had to buy them all, which is still very expensive. I mean, if you go for adults and you want this many, you're spending thousands. So that part of it's still true. And then you had to buy all the equipment. And aquarium equipment has never been cheap. And it continues to, be an expensive hobby. But you'll see when you look at this channel that I've managed to pull it off on the cheap. And I mean the cheap. All of my tanks, my entire fish room is everything I could do to get it for as close to nothing as I could. And I have spent a lot of money, don't get me wrong. I've spent all my my disposable income on this hobby in the last it'll be 2 years in April. I dove in and go big or go home. But that's just how I am. And I wanted to do big things with nothing, basically. Everybody thought I was crazy. I got nothing but criticism, both from YouTube and from people in my real life, because I was biting off what everyone's seen as more than I can chew. But, I wish I could have a big $700-800 canister filter, right? Not really on this tank because they're too hard to clean, but maybe downstairs it would be good. And nope, I have to run with these hang-on backs, and even these are expensive. So, and the difference between living in the U.S. and living in Canada is kind of the same as the difference between living, in the lower 48 and living in Alaska. Everything is more expensive up here. It might even be cheaper right now to live in Alaska. That was never true in the past, but I wouldn't doubt if that's become the truth lately. So, how do you build a discus tank on the cheap? Well, you watch places like free cycle sites or Facebook Marketplace. You even post ads in these locations, and you say, I'm looking for a tank of this size. Here's my situation. Here's how much I could pay, or I'll just come get it out of your way if it's been sitting around in your garage getting dusty for years. And you'll get a response, because there's going to be someone that goes, you know what, I've been wanting that thing out of my way forever. It weighs 500 pounds and I can't move it. by myself, and it would just be easier for someone to show up with a truck and carry it away. And you'd be surprised, but that's how I got all my big tanks. So there you go. You save thousands of dollars right there. And then you just start doing things like, finding alternative forms of media and just DIYing everything with cheap materials. You'd be surprised how much stuff, and I pulled out people throw good stuff out, and you're walking down the street and it's garbage day, and all of a sudden you see something like garden hose is very useful in this hobby. So even if I just going to be chopping it up and making things with it, it's going to be useful. But I run UV. You can run UV for $20. Doesn't have to cost $1,000. If you go all fancy, it can cost $1,000. I'm running just a $20 bulb down there at the last stage of my sump. Works fine. Oh, looks like my sump might need some water. It's not too low yet. Maybe I'll add a little bit. I like to keep it right full in the winter because it evaporates really quickly. But you can definitely do this. You can definitely do this hobby on the cheap. And a lot of people do now. There's a lot of fish tanks floating around out there. People tend to hang on to them and not throw them out because they spent so much money on them. And even if they wanted to throw them out, they'd rather give it away because it's just a shame to throw it out. So start looking around. If you think this is beyond you financially, well, everyone thought it was beyond me financially. They probably still do, but here I am. Where there's a will, there's a way. Just gotta have the will. I got lids made out of plexiglass I pulled out of trash. The lid on my Oscar tank. It's just one big old sheet I found. Someone put it out. I carried it home. I just happen to be walking down the street and I see things. 2x4s, same thing. People will do. There's been a lot of renovation stuff going on around here, and people just throw out piles of, wood they chopped, lengths they don't need, warped sections. I just grab them all. I'll use the warped stuff too. I'll try to straighten it out, and then I just make stuff with it. I made the stand over. It's all just scrap garbage wood. But some of it was weather grayed by weather. Some of it wasn't. I just stained it all when I was done. It works just fine. Only thing I spent money on was varnish. Heck, I think it was an old can of varnish. No, I didn't even spend that. I was just hidden in my basement. Yeah. Both these tanks were free. The only thing I really buy is gear, like the sponge filters, the heaters, heater controllers, those cones, C-chem tags. I buy all that stuff. That's not cheap either, but you can cut significant amount of the expense off by seeking out free aquariums. Like this is what a modern minimalist can do. Very little that's here that's not used in this shot. Even my decor in these tanks is all just used crap that I got my mitts on. I bought maybe $50-$60, and over all my tanks I may have spent less than $100 on fake plants and real plants, but the decor items, got all those free too, everywhere. All my decor items. I just pay for heaters and filters and stuff like that. UVs. Got used rain barrels. Just cleaned them up real good. They're working fine. I got that canister filter for free. I got this tank with some Oscars I rescued. Still yet to use it. I keep it rolling. I got these little tanks over here free. There's like 40-gallon bow front, and I forget that one. I think it's 15 or 20-gallon Fluval Flex, and not using them yet. I got a couple 30 gallons upstairs in my spare room, just standing up on their sides. This is a 5-foot, 120-gallon tank, free. Almost all the Oscars and almost all the silver dollars in this tank, free. You know, the modern minimalist, right? That's what you can do. You just got to put the time in. Start searching around. Whether there's a will, there's a way, and if you want it done, you'll get it done. Get her done. Those downstairs tanks are due for water change. I'll probably do them up today. But well, these guys are my pride and joy up here. I thoroughly do enjoy the Oscars, though. Look at that water. Right? Yeehaw. I think it's a little nicer with more green in there. Get that natural look going. It's always important. Tell me that's not a natural tank, right? There's nothing natural about a tank. But it looks and it feels natural. And you get to enjoy the beauty of the fish because they're healthy and they're happy and they're showing you their best. It's like they got their Sunday best on. Why wouldn't you want that? But yeah, everything in this tank is the cheap route. I mean, $25 corner filters, you know. These penguins were very expensive, Marineland penguins. I think I spent like $80 each for those, which I find a little high. Same with this guy in the corner. It's another, $75, $80 item. It does add up, but it ain't like $700-800, like some things are in this hobby. I got $20 UV instead of a $500 to $1,000 UV, and it works just fine. And then deploying Purigen just took it over the top. It's like the cherry on the cake was Purigen. Now I'm just done. I just get to sit here, watch my fish never get sick, and do my basic maintenance and feed them. And that's how it should be. But it was a rocky ride getting here, let me tell you. But my tank evolved into this because I didn't give up. And I figured out how to do everything as cheaply as humanly possible. And I succeeded. And in the near future, we'll be seeing baby Discus. Then I'll be filling tanks up with babies. We'll evolve this into a proper business. and everyone will live happily ever after. I might even start shipping off free Discus to, to channel members and things like that. If I have an abundance of them, you know what I mean? All sorts of fun stuff coming up down the road. Here at Discus North, we're going to make Discus great again. We're going to dispel all the fears. We're going to show people that it's not expensive. It can be as cheap as you need it to be. And you can still check off all the boxes and keep them happy. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day.